Welcome to the Personal Foul Podcast. Got a date of September 4th, 2019. Got a special guest coming on the show this week. My man all the way down in Charlotte, North Carolina. He is a host now with Fox Sports in Charlotte. You will hear him on Fridays, 5:30 to 7. Prime time for my man Conor. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me on. A long time no pod.
Yeah, man, no doubt. So where can people reach you and listen to you and just bust your chops?
Well, if you're down here in Charlotte, it's 94.7 FM, 1660 AM, and foxsportsradiocharlotte.com. You can hit the play button. You'll stream us all there. Or you go to foxsportsradiocharlotte.com and read everything I write. I'm the lead content creator over there for now as well.
Yeah, you're doing pretty well, my man. So where did your journey start? I know me and you both met at OCC, had a little radio show there at OCC, and you went down to North Carolina. How's everything going down there? What other listeners know? What's going on with you?
Hey, man, my journey started the same way you did over at 95.9 The Rat. Started up at The Rat as an intern. They hired me to do promotions. Moved down to Charlotte, North Carolina, transferred, did promotions there. We bought a sports station. They were looking for a writer. It just so happened to be that I used to write about the Pittsburgh Penguins, and my PD liked what I wrote, saw what I had, and hired me on to be their lead content creator.
Yeah, you know what you're doing. You love your dang Penguins and your love obsession with Sidney Crosby. I see you smirking over there. You love your boy Sid.
Named my dog after the man. Ain't nothing but love for Crosby.
We know. Anybody that knows you, we all know. Trust me.
Every last one of them.
So, how do you like it down there in Charlotte?
It's a beautiful city. It's a growing city. I live about 15 minutes from where the Carolina Panthers play. We're booting up for a good season with them. They start their season this Sunday. We have the Charlotte Knights, AAA team for the Chicago White Sox, about 2 minutes from where the Panthers play, and we also have the Charlotte Hornets. So we have good teams and we have bad teams, and as broadcasters, we love good teams and bad teams because mediocre teams are no fun.
Yeah, we won't even get into the Hornets because, yeah, it's a dumpster fire there in Charlotte.
I mean, it's a dumpster fire, but that can be a different show, a different day.
Without a doubt.
That'll take up a bunch of time on its own for what I have to say.
I couldn't imagine bringing in Terry Rozier, but we're gonna get right into our New York Yankees. What's up with the Yanks, man? They look great going into this season. A lot of progression in Gary Sanchez, El Gary producing. What's your takes on the Yanks right now?
Yeah, man, the Kraken. I love the Yankees right now. I love the Yankees before the year even began. They're right now somewhere where I thought they wouldn't be. I didn't think they would be leading first place like this right now this late into the season with all the injuries that they've had. You know, Miguel Andujar went down. They lost their ace in Luis Severino, who is getting closer and closer. Dellin Betances threw from the mound the other day in the Bronx, and I really love Dellin Betances. He's an elite reliever when he's got his stuff under control, but that's been his biggest problem in his career right now is his control. But once he's got it, the man's got 5 straight seasons with over 100 strikeouts, and that is not something that's easy to do. I mean, he pitched 66 point innings last year and had 115 Ks. I really like what the Yankees are doing right now. They're having everybody who needs to fill in is filling in beautifully, may I add. They're getting a lot of work out of James Paxton. Domingo Germán right now is 17-3 at 26 years old. His ERA is 4.01, but he's played in 24 games this year at 132 innings. He has only let up 59 earned runs. So in 24 games, 59 earned runs, that's not bad what we're seeing from Germán. I really like the way that Mike Tauchman is filling in. I love the way that DJ LeMahieu is come to play. You know, when the Yankees signed DJ LeMahieu in the offseason, you did not think that he was going to be an everyday player. He actually wasn't supposed to be an everyday player. You have Gleyber Torres as your second baseman. You sign Troy Tulowitzki in the offseason. You sign DJ LeMahieu in the offseason. You think that LeMahieu plays more second base than he does shortstop, and Glaber and Tulowitzki platoon over at short. Tulo gets hurt and retires. Gregorius started the season on the IL after getting Tommy John surgery. And then Miguel Andujar, not too far into the season, goes down with a torn labrum and misses the rest of the year. So they go out and they get in Edwin Encarnacion. They went out and they picked up Cameron Maben. They're having somebody like Mike Ford come up. They're seeing Terrio Estrada, Kyle Higashioka. All these guys that need to fill in are really filling in their spots when the Yankee starters are hurt. And that is where they're thriving.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the Edwin Encarnacion pickup throughout the season. I didn't think there was really a place for him. But, man, he has done a very good job at walking his parrot this season for the Yankees.
Hey, he's fitting in just fine over in New York.
I love the walking of the parrot too, man. Glad to have him back in the lineup. Just came back from the injured list this week. But he's
hit a home run the day he came back, too.
Yes, he did. But, as you touched on with Domingo Germán, and let's not even get into the bullpen. The bullpen's been great this season for the Yanks with Adam Ottavino, Tommy Kahnle, Zach Britton, and Aroldis Chapman. And as you touched on, with hopefully Dellin Betances getting back in the mix here, I think the Yanks can make a lot of noise in the American League.
Coming into the postseason, you're going to see a completely different team if Betances can play. You're going to see a completely different team if Severino can play. And you're going to see a completely different team if Giancarlo Stanton comes back. He's getting real close to a rehab stint, and once he gets up and running, just watch out.
I don't know if I want Stanton in there, man. I really don't.
Hey, I really like Giancarlo Stanton. He played 158 games last year, had 705 plate appearances, 164 hits, 38 home runs, 100 RBIs, and 102 runs scored. This year, he only played 9 games. He had a total of 38 plate appearances, 9 hits, and a home run. That was good for him batting .290 early in this year before he went down, but he's been down this whole season.
Yeah, but when you saw him last year in the playoffs, oh my goodness, it was like strikeout after strikeout after strikeout against Boston. It was so frustrating watching this man come up to the plate every single time. And best part was it was runners on, Connor. Runners were on base when this man came to the plate.
Listen, I understand that. And with how much this man gets paid, you're going to expect him to produce and score these runs. The only problem is last year, like you said, they faced the Boston Red Sox. And as much as myself as a Yankee fan hates to admit it, that Red Sox team last year had it together. And that was one of the best teams I've seen in a long, long time.
Yeah, the Red Sox did have a great season last year, and they did have everything going for them.
Exactly. Chris Sale, David Price, they signed JD Martinez in the offseason, right? And they got a bargain with him because they didn't really know what they were going to expect out of a 30-year-old coming in to, the backside of his career. He's in his mid-30s, just got off of a big contract with Arizona, and they really weren't too sure where he was going to go and which direction he was going to be in. But he's been such a leader in that Boston club, and he's really, really helped out those kids that Boston has, between Benintendi and Devers, just from the things I hear, he himself is helping these kids learn how to hit and become better hitters. And right now, that's where Boston's at. Boston is a strong team at the plate.
And they are getting hot right now, creeping back into the wild card mix. And you see it with Rafael Devers. Devers is having a fantastic season for the Sox. And as much as he's not playing, Dustin Pedroia. I remember watching the Yankees play the Sox, and Dustin Pedroia is there helping out Rafael Devers with his swing. He's sitting there showing him how to get the bat to the ball faster, a little shortcut. And you got to tip your hat to Pedroia. He's not playing. He's banged up, and I don't know if you're ever going to see Pedroia play again. But
that's exactly what I was just going to tell you. We do not know the next time we're going to see Dustin Pedroia.
No, I don't think he's probably ever going to touch the field again. I think it's kind of like a David Wright situation with the Mets, injuries.
Yeah, and it's a shame, Dustin Pedroia, he's former Rookie of the Year. He's got 2 World Series, a Silver Slug. He's a 4-time Gold Glove winner. And he's a 4-time All-Star. So that's definitely not a player that you want to watch never play.
No, It's a shame as much as it's Boston, but yeah, it is. It's a shame to see Pedroia go down the way he is. But you got to tip your cap to Brian Cashman this offseason. He didn't get all up in air about Bryce Harper being on the market, Manny Machado being on the market, and he did not overspend. And he made probably the best signing in the offseason with DJ LeMahieu. It is actually insane for a guy who's supposed to be a super utility guy this offseason with 33 home runs, 24, and 90 RBIs. It's actually crazy to think. And he's batting over 300 by a long slide. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's played 126 games. He's played most of the Yankees season so far. Man's got 172 hits, which is more than anybody else on that team by a lot, actually. He's beaten out Gleyber Torres by almost 40 hits.
Yeah, DJ's been a lifesaver. And to get on the topic while we're on DJ LeMahieu, he's got to be the MVP of the American League. I don't care what Mike Trout is doing. I really don't care. Mike Trout, you expect this every year from Mike Trout. And with all the injuries that the Yankees did have, imagine what they would be like if they didn't have DJ LeMahieu here.
Yeah, I understand that. And I don't know. I mean, he definitely needs to be up in that MVP race. And Rafael Devers actually is as well. And right now, I think it's Mike Trout, Devers, and LeMahieu are the top three front runners for the AL MVP. But I said something similar the other day. What DJ LeMahieu is doing for this New York Yankees team is disgusting. If you look at this man's numbers with runners in scoring position, it was damn near 400 the other day, and I could only imagine it going up. You know, this is a stat that I saw 2 or 3 days ago. He was hitting 400 with runners on, so he definitely needs to be up there in that chat. And Mike Trout himself. Mike Trout just tied the home run leaders in Yelich and Peter Alonso over in New York with 44 home runs. He's already got 102 RBIs, 11 stolen bases, and 100 walks. So Mike Trout is definitely somebody that you want to see. Right now, he's leading the league in walks. He's tied for home runs. He leads in slugging percentage. He leads in OPS, and he leads in OPS plus. I mean, what this kid is doing at 27 years old is disgusting to me. He's played 130 games and 589 at-bats. So Mike Trout, to me, between him and DJ LeMahieu, really. But you can't undermine Rafael Devers either with the season that he's had. Even though Boston isn't in the playoff picture right now, they're slowly but surely creeping up over on Oakland out in the West, and then they're going to continue creeping up on Tampa, the Rays, who are holding that number one wild card spot in the AL.
I guess you just don't want to see how bad the Angels are doing. This is my whole point on the MVP. The Angels are absolutely atrocious.
The Angels are a bad team. I understand.
Exactly. So why are we giving this man an MVP? He is not. I get how valuable he is, and if he was that valuable, look at Christian Yelich too. The Brewers aren't really having that good of a season. They're fighting right now for the wild card spot. And the Angels aren't even 500. They're not even 500. And we're giving this man MVP. I get the numbers are crazy. Mike Trout puts up numbers like this.
But that's why they call it the most valuable player award. That's why it's called the most valuable player and not the most valuable team. I understand that the Angels are bad. I agree with you. I think the Angels are a really bad baseball team. But Mike Trout himself, for Mike Trout to stick out on a team like this, but then again, counterpoint for DJ LeMahieu to stick out on a team like the New York Yankees right now. I could see it going either way. I mean, would I be upset if DJ LeMahieu won the AL MVP? No. I wouldn't even argue it, to be honest with you.
I don't know. As you touched on, most valuable player. You take LeMahieu off this Yankee team, and it might be a whole different team with the injuries they've had this season.
It might be a wild card team.
They wouldn't be this far up in the division. This is what drives me crazy about the most valuable player. He has been the best offseason acquisition this offseason. DJ LeMahieu. The
I
numbers he's
agree.
putting up are crazy. And he's carried the Yankees for a guy that was supposed to be a super utility player, not supposed to play every day at all. And he's been playing every day for the Yankees. And Mike Trout, I get it. The numbers are insane for Mike Trout. You just read them to the listeners. They are nuts. But the thing is, look at the Angels' record. I just read it to you. They're not even 500 with the numbers he has. Imagine putting that on the Yankees, these numbers. Holy crap. It'd be insane.
Throw Mike Trout out in the center field for the New York Yankees.
This is what I'm saying. Just imagine putting him with the Yankees this season. The Yankees' record would be mind-blowing.
Yankees are having a hard enough time trying to figure out where they're going to put all these outfielders once they get healthy as it is.
Exactly.
I mean,
I guess that 40-man roster, what they're going to do with these guys.
You're not keeping Clinton Frazier up for the whole year. I mean, that season's starting to go down. Wilkes-Barre Scranton actually just beat the Mets AAA team in a one-game playoff to continue their season. But Clinton Frazier just got called up with September call-ups. But right now you're using Mike Tauchman as your left fielder. He's played 83 games this year. He's not an everyday player. I mean, really, where you could use Kendry Morales once upon a time as – well, they dropped him, actually.
Yeah.
Forget I said that. You can edit that part out. But you have Stanton that's on the DL, for real. You have Aaron Hicks who's on the DL. You have Clinton Frazier. You have Cameron Maben. You have Aaron Judge, Brett Gardner, Mike Tauchman, and I'm assuming they could throw Encarnacion out there if they have to, but he's more of a first baseman. So right now, the Yankees, their outfield is just completely full.
Yeah, the outfield is loaded. And as you touched on, when Aaron Hicks comes back, it's just crazy to think. I was just laughing when they played the Dodgers a few weeks ago when Mike Ford goes deep on Clayton Kershaw. Mike Ford delivering for the Yankees. It's a season for the Yankees has been bringing guys up. Gio Urshela, who is nothing with the Cleveland Indians, and he is producing at a very high level and playing great defense.
Cannot undermine Gio Urshela. That guy he's also hitting 331. Him and DJ both are hitting. Or I lied to you. No, him and DJ both are hitting.
They're both hitting 331.
Yeah, that to me is absolutely insane. You pick up this guy who you really don't have any expectations with, maybe play 40 games this year. Ends up playing 114 so far. He's on the IL right now, but ends up playing 114 games for you. Hits 18 of them out of the park, has 67 RBIs, and just defensively is such a beauty that the Yankees really did luck out with him here. But going back to Mike Ford, the other day, he came up real clutch hitting that walk-off home run. It was the bottom of the ninth. Yankees were down by 2, and this was against the Oakland A's. Brett Gardner steps up, hits a leadoff home run, and right after him was Mike Ford, and Mike Ford sent one over. They went back to back the end of the game.
Yeah. The Yankees, this whole season for the Yankees has literally been next man up. Yeah, you could say it's a Cinderella story. I mean, it's been next man up for the Yankees, and it's been crazy to think because the division is very good. The Rays are not a bad team. Blake Snell getting hurt, I think, hurt them a lot. And Boston's not a bad team. Boston started off very bad and really couldn't catch up with how well the Yankees and the Rays were doing. But it's just crazy to think how successful this Yankees team has been without a guy like Giancarlo Stanton all season. Aaron Judge for a lot of the season. It's been crazy.
Yeah, and Boston's biggest problem right now, I personally, is their starting pitcher or starting pitching. Chris Sale this year is with a 4.40 ERA in 25 games. I haven't seen Chris Sale be this bad ever in my life. I mean, the man's a 7-time All-Star, won the World Series last year with the Red Sox, and even last year Last year, he went 12-4, and his ERA was 2.11. The man let up a total of 37 earned runs all year. In 27 games, he let up 37 earned runs. 39 total, 37 of them were earned. This year, he comes in, he's 6-11. He's got a 4.40 ERA. This is the highest ERA he's ever had in his life. I mean, call it a World Series hangover, but Boston, I think, really needs to figure out their starting pitching before they worry about anything else. I know they picked up Bundy from Baltimore, and I know they're still riding high on the idea of David Price, but Boston right now, I don't even think will make the wild card team.
I think it's a little bit too late, for Boston.
Yeah, I would agree. And even looking at, David Price, as I was mentioning before, 2018, man, was 16-7 with a 3.58 ERA, 30 games. This year, steps on the mound, he's 7-5, 4.28 ERA. I mean, that's the second highest ERA Price has ever had in his career, and the Boston Red Sox are just struggling on the mound.
Yeah, it's crazy to think because Price still has a high strikeouts for this year, but it just cannot seem to keep the ball in the park.
And that's their issue right now. The top two strikeout getters in the league are both playing the same team over in Houston. So I know David Price is up right now. They're just struggling. It's not going well. They don't have their best ERA. They have Rick Porcello too, 17-7 with a 4.28 ERA. Nathan Eovaldi's ERA is 3.33. It's just they are absolutely struggling.
Porcello's been bad too. But as you touched on with Houston, to wrap up this baseball talk here, what is your final prediction here with the MLB? Who do you think goes all the way?
Oh, I don't know. If you're asking me right now, I think that the Yankees have what it takes to make it. You're looking at the Yankees in Houston in the ALCS right now. Personally, that's what I believe. I think that the Yankees can out them in 7. If the Yankees stay ahead of the majors right now, they'll have home field advantage. And I'm sure that they would love to play Game 7 inside of Yankee Stadium, unlike a couple of years ago when they had to travel out to Houston to play Game 7.
Yeah,
so
I think it all really comes down to Severino coming back. I think they need Sevy not to go 7 innings or anything crazy like that, but just a guy to go at least 4 or 5 innings to get to the bullpen. Hopefully you get a guy like Patantis back, and I think this Yankees-Astros series could be something very special.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, getting Betances back and getting Severino back is like getting an ace and a top-tier reliever at the trade deadline, That's like the Astros going out and getting Zach Greinke and the year prior going to get Justin Verlander. And actually the year before that, Garrett Cole. That's what it's like. It's like them going out and getting an ace, and it's like going out and getting Craig Kimbrell or Ken Giles. Betances, when healthy and on his game, is an elite reliever, and Severino the last 2 seasons has proven us to be an ace in himself. So I'd like to see the Yankees coming out of the American League, and I'd like to see the Dodgers come out of the National League. I personally don't think that there's any team in baseball as good as the LA Dodgers, or in the National League as good as the LA Dodgers, and very few teams in baseball as good as the Dodgers. So I think that the Yankees could end up facing them in the World Series. Jairun, in his last 3 starts, has been hideous. With an ERA over 11, and we saw the Yankees get to him a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, we saw the Yankees get to him.
So I think to Ryu big time, man. They in LA too, where his ERA was 2. His ERA was under 2.
So I would like to see the Yankees win the World Series, and if I had to put my money on any team right now, it would be New York.
Well, to wrap off that, we're going to hop into some football real quick, and we're going to touch on your hockey. We're going to touch on our Steelers here for just a little bit as the football season starts off tomorrow with the Packers, Bears. What do you think are the expectations this year for the Steelers? I know they lost AB this offseason, I think, which was for the better. A little bit of controversial stuff with him and Ben this offseason and the whole meltdown they had last year. But I think moving on from AB was better for Pittsburgh. What's your take on the Steelers?
I think you win through losing. And they lost both Le'Veon Bell and they lost Antonio Brown. And I think that's only made the Pittsburgh Steelers better. I think that this year they're going to come out. You're going to see more from James Conner, as if you didn't see a bunch from him last year. And you're going to see a larger workload for Juju Smith-Schuster. And I think that's what everybody in Pittsburgh wants to see. And I think that's what everybody in football actually wants to see. You know, Antonio Brown has been nothing but a problem child for the last couple of years out here in Pittsburgh. And, you know, even getting traded out to Oakland and threatening to never play football again because he couldn't have a certain helmet. I think you win through losing, and this year it's going to be a good year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I could see them winning the AFC North, and they're going to kick it off this Sunday actually by playing the New England Patriots on Sunday night. What a kickoff that's going to be.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if Pittsburgh goes in there and wins. I mean, a lot of people don't have them winning that game, understandably so. Defending champs, Tom Brady owns the Steelers, especially at Gillette. But I have a weird feeling about this game. I think Pittsburgh has a lot to prove this year, especially Ben. A lot of new guys in there with Dante Moncrief. James Washington looks very good. James Conner. There's a lot going on in Pittsburgh. A lot of noise is gone. It's kind of back to the old Pittsburgh ways of just a quiet, hardworking group, and I think that's what they have this year. And they can make a statement really early here on Sunday Night Football.
And I think that's actually exactly what they're going to do. Like you said, they have big expectations this year. They're going to have a couple of teams following them in the AFC real close, and it's going to be I think it's going to be tight. But I think they'll come out in New England and with something to prove. I think the Patriots are a beatable team here in week 1.
And you've seen it also with New England early. New England is very slow out of the gates usually. I feel like we've heard this for the past 3-4 years, especially when they lost to Kansas City at home. What was that, 2 years ago to Alex Smith? They're like, oh, New England. Is this the year New England folds up? And what do you know? New England's always the one at the end of the season, holding up the Lombardi, or they're at least there. And
Yep. Every year you hear the same thing. Is Tom Brady going to start, deteriorating? Has this Patriots team been figured out? But it's going to be a slow start. But there are better teams in the NFL this year than the New England Patriots.
Yeah, and I was listening today to the NFL Network, and Maurice Jones-Drew was driving me absolutely bonkers about Pittsburgh. He goes, I don't think they have enough talent. Talent wins in the NFL. No, sir, it doesn't. It's been proven by New England. Talent does not win in the NFL. It does not. I get New England always has a very well-rounded team. You saw it last year. The Rams had a ton more talent than the Patriots, and it was by a ton. It wasn't even close that the Rams had more talent than the Patriots. And New England plays New England football and won the Super Bowl again for a 6th time.
Yeah. For as good as New England is and for as good as all these other teams are individually, I think coaching plays a big part of it too, as much as individual talent and team talent comes along as well. We've seen a lot of good things from Mike Tomlin this year. Hopefully that these players respect him a little bit more in the locker room. He's not going to have to babysit Antonio Brown like he has in years prior. He's not going to have to try and please Le'Veon Bell. he's going to be able to focus on coaching the game, and I think that's where they're going to succeed. Big Ben just signed an extension earlier this summer. He's going to play a couple of more years and finish out his career in Pittsburgh. I just think that the expectations are set real high. You see Juju's working in the offseason. Juju wants to be the best there is, and he's done nothing but show everybody that's what he wants. So I would expect a big season from Juju Smith-Schuster this year as well.
Yeah, I think him and Dante Moncrief are going to have very good seasons. I like bringing over Moncrief as the number 2 right now. Maybe see James Washington step up. And probably the best move in the draft, coming off of that Antonio Brown trade, using some of those trade assets to move up to the 10th slot to get my favorite man out of Michigan, Devin Bush.
Yeah, 5'11", he's a linebacker. Drafted in, like you said, the first round. I think he's going to make an immediate impact for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I really, really hope he does, to be honest with you. 21 years old, just turned 21 years old in July. He's got high expectations coming out in that Pittsburgh. But now we're covering Bush, but one thing I did want to talk to you about, I was actually thinking about you earlier when I read that Eli Rogers was cut.
Yeah.
He spent 3 years in Pittsburgh last year. He only played 3 games, targeted 14 times, had 12 receptions. Where does that lie over with you?
I was actually okay with it. I think the Steelers are really high on a guy like Ryan Switzer who returns punts and kicks, and they're both the same player. They both play in the slot. And I know Ben did like Eli Rogers, but I think Ryan Switzer, he also has a good connection with Ryan Switzer. And the fact that Switzer is more of a guy on special teams where Eli Rogers is not, I think that's what it came down to, and that's where that cut came from.
Yeah, Switzer has to be that man moving forward for Ben, even though I did think personally that him and Rogers did have a good Swift connection out on the field.
They did. Yep, Ben and him were pretty solid. But at the same time, you saw it last year, Ben had a little connection going with Ryan Switzer, where Eli Rogers was out with the torn ACL after getting hurt in the playoffs the year before. And I think it's just, like I said, it comes down to, are you on special teams? Because special teams is very big in Pittsburgh, and Ryan Switzer's on special teams with the punts and kicks. And I think that's just where it ended up coming down to, where Eli Rogers is not doing that, and that's why he ended up getting cut.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And especially with the talent that has arisen in Cleveland over this offseason and the acquisitions over in Cleveland, in this offseason, Pittsburgh's really going to have to come out with their A game. And Lamar Jackson out in Baltimore has worked more on throwing and becoming more of a passer than a runner. So with Joe Flacco being out of Baltimore, you don't know what you're going to get out of Lamar Jackson this year either.
I'm very happy. I'm very happy the Ravens drafted Lamar Jackson out of Louisville. I don't think he sorry to cut you off, Connor.
No, you're good.
I don't think there's much that Lamar can do once people start keying in on the run. You saw the Chargers bully him in the playoffs, and I think that's what's going to happen this year. I get they drafted. I think they're going to want a very up-tempo offense. They brought in Hollywood Brown. They drafted him with their first-round pick. I think it's going to be a lot of up-tempo. They brought in Mark Ingram.
Signed Ingram, absolutely.
They also did lose some of their front, though, defensively. They lost, I think, one of their pass rushers to the Green Bay Packers. They did bring in Earl Thomas, though, to replace Eric Weddle, who left and went to the Rams. I just don't know. Their back end's very good. The Ravens' back end is very good with Jimmy Smith back there, Brandon Carr, Tony Jefferson.
Yeah, but it's been good.
Oh, it's always been good. Ravens defense has always been great, but the thing is they've also been known for having pressure up front, where there's not a lot of guys up front, where it's kind of bringing some question marks. Is there going to be a pass rush in Baltimore, or are you going to have to rely on that secondary to hold people up?
Yeah, I think they'll rely more on their secondary this year than they have in the past years. And I got a chance to go out to Bank of America and watch the Panthers play Baltimore last year, and just from watching Lamar Jackson on the TV, with Joe Flacco in Baltimore, you knew what you were getting when Lamar Jackson came onto the field. You knew that there was a 70% chance that he was going to run the ball instead of passing the ball on the field. So coming this year, it's going to be a little bit different. Jackson's going to have to pass the ball this year. So it's going to be exciting to see what he can do. I don't think he'll be a top 5 quarterback. I don't think he'll be a top 10 quarterback either. So I think right now, the way that the AFC looks to me, I think it's going to be Pittsburgh, and then it's going to be Cleveland, Baltimore, and Cincinnati.
That's what I have too. I actually do have that as well. I think Baltimore. A lot of people are high on the Ravens. I think the Ravens finish around 8-8, 9-7 kind of thing. And that's no disrespect to the Ravens. Defense is still going to be very good. I just don't trust Lamar Jackson enough this year. Everybody's got all the film on him, and I think it's going to be different. As you touched on, he's going to have to throw the ball this year, and I just don't see that happening with Lamar.
Yeah, that's not too pleasing with me. So those are what I have out in the AFC. I know that you have the Eagles over near you at Rowan, and I'm sure you have a bunch of Giants and Jets fans listening in as well. So just to touch on that, out in the NFC, the Dallas Cowboys ended up signing Ezekiel Elliott, and that was huge. Friday night on the show, on the QCB live show I featured on, I pointed out that you need to sign Ezekiel Elliott, and you can't have him go through a holdout, because the first 2 games of the season for the Dallas Cowboys are both divisional games. They start their season Sunday against the Giants, and then the week after they play Washington.
Yeah.
So it's really important that they had signed him before the season had started this year. And it was, 6 years, $90 million for the leading rusher in 2018?
Yes, it was. Man from the Ohio State got paid.
Yeah, that's an understatement. Man's making a lot of money, but, that's what sports is. In every sport, you see a top-tier player sign a contract, and then there's another top-tier player that's right behind him, and they're going to try and top that contract. So we see Zeke making this. We'll have to see who the next free agent running back is, who's an elite running back, and then Dak Prescott himself is looking for a big payday as well.
He is, and there's rumors going around with the next CBA coming up that they're going to try separating the quarterback's money compared to the regular cap, which would be very interesting to see. I think it would to try to build like a better roster without having to worry about the quarterback's money, because the quarterback money this day and age, we just saw Jared Goff get paid last night, become the highest paid player in the NFL, and it's only going to go up from there.
Yeah, exactly, and that's it. And I think it's a good idea that they do that. That way they can focus on building a team around the quarterback, because having a good quarterback is a key part in winning football games.
Yeah, it is. And as you touched on with Dak Prescott coming up to get paid, Amari Cooper's got to get paid soon. And I just don't know with Dak. Dak's asking on the plus side of 30. Dallas offered him 30. He denied it, and he wants more. I get he wants more being a late round draft pick like he was. But, oh, my goodness, I don't know. I'm one of those guys that's not really too high on Prescott.
Listen, I'm not sold on him. I don't think he's a top 5 quarterback. I could find room for him in my top 10. I just don't have any room for him in my top 5. So, to me, is he worth $40 million? No. If I was Jerry Jones, I'd probably laugh at him. That being said, is he going to make over 30? Yeah, he could make anywhere from 33 to 35 in the next coming years.
Yeah, I still think that's much for Prescott, especially. But if they do to where the NFL does have the quarterback money separate from the rest of the cap, then it's not that big of a deal. But if they don't change that, I think that's a lot of money for Prescott.
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, he's 32-16 in his career. The man's only started 48 games, but he's got a career completion percentage of 66.1. He's thrown 67 touchdowns and 25 interceptions. It isn't terrible, but my biggest thing with Dak, in his last two seasons has been his accuracy. His first year coming into the league, he went 13-3, and his completion percentage was 67.8. The man threw for 23 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, and that to me was absolutely insane.
It's a great season, and it's nothing against Dak, but it would have been interesting to see Ezekiel Elliott not there this year and see teams not key on Zeke as the primary offense, where now it's Dak Prescott and you could play off in coverage and see Dak beat you. I think that would have been interesting to start the season and see how Dak would have handled not having his security blanket and Elliott behind him.
Well, yes, and let me make two more real quick points. In 2016, he had a QBR of 104.9, or he had a rate of 104.9. His QBR was 78.8 according to ESPN. But his rate in 2017 was 86.6, and then in 2018 it went back up to 96.9. Another thing that has gone up though over the years has been the amount of times that he's been sacked. So I think the offensive line in Dallas also played a big part in his success in 2016 after they went 13-3. It's a different offensive line than Dallas used to have, and one thing you don't want to give a quarterback is time, and Dak Prescott certainly isn't getting a ton of that.
Yeah, without a doubt. But as we touched on, Zeke does get a contract extension, becoming the highest paid running back in the NFL, getting a lot of money as the highest paid running back in the NFL. We also saw Jared Goff get paid. Now back to your sweet spot in hockey. We're going to wrap this podcast up with a little bit of hockey here, get everybody's feet wet for the NHL season coming up very shortly. With the New Jersey Devils having a pretty solid offseason, bringing in Wayne Simmons, drafting Jack Hughes with the number 1 overall pick in the draft. What's up with and bringing in PK Subban via trade.
Yeah, I absolutely love this Devils offseason. I think that I could say that they have had the best offseason in hockey. Following them, though, is also the New York Rangers with some of the transactions that they have. Some big things on their end. They re-signed Will Butcher. That was big news. Another big signing another big trade acquisition was Nikita Gusev from the Vegas Golden Knights, and that's for a 2020 third round pick, 2021 second rounder, and they agreed with Gusev on a 2-year contract, and he's going to make a big difference for that team. They signed Jack Hughes to an entry-level deal. They were able to snag Wayne Simmons. I liked that signing as well. Wayne Simmons is a gritty player. He's always sitting in front of the net, and if you get pucks to the net, it's guaranteed that Simmons is going to be right up front. So he didn't score a ton of points last year, but if he can be what he was in the few years prior with Philadelphia, I think New Jersey is really going to make a run for their money this year. I absolutely loved the trade for PK Subban. They got rid of Santini, Davies, and 2 second-round picks for a top 2 defenseman.
Yeah.
So I love what they have done this coming offseason.
Yeah, I do really like PK Subban coming over, and I think it's going to help out the Devils a lot. I'm very curious what's going to happen here with Taylor Hall. I think they're trying to go win now while he's here. I know they're trying to re-sign him, and I'm hoping they re-sign Taylor Hall. And it's just Devils, great job this offseason. They also did, as you did touch on, bring in Nikita Gusev over from the Vegas Golden Knights. I also forgot to touch on that, which is a great pickup for the Devils.
Hey, do me a favor. Imagine this, right? You're going to have Jack Hughes, then you're going to have Taylor Hall, most likely Kyle Palmieri, and then you're going to have PK Subban and possibly Wayne Simmons on your first power play.
Yeah.
I really do like the looks of that. I absolutely do. Taylor Hall, he's going to be healthy this year. You know, he's entering the age 27 season. He's due for a new contract after. It's been said before that he wants to stay in New Jersey. I've heard an interview on another podcast where he had mentioned loving to live in Jersey City. He can live low key there, like he wasn't able to do out in Edmonton. So he really likes New Jersey. I think New Jersey is going to be willing to spend the money to keep him. I haven't seen New Jersey make off-season moves like this in a long time. And I think that they can snag one of the top 3 spots in the division. If not, they'll be the first wild card.
And don't forget Nico Hischier, too, last year's pick.
Yeah, no, I have Nico Hischier actually centering that second-line power play. I also think he'll move down to their second-line center. If not, he will he will play this first year as his Jack Hughes' first year as the first line center only because of the size right now of Jack Hughes. And that to me is the only thing holding this kid back from really just hitting it hard once the regular season starts. I mean, the kid's 18 years old, but he's only 5'10" and 171 pounds, man. I might have been 171 pounds in middle school.
Yes, he needs to put on a little bit of muscle. And I'm hoping for a bounce-back season here from Corey Schneider as well.
Yeah, that was their biggest problem last year, I think, was being able to find a solid goaltender. And they are going to go back to Corey Schneider this year. He's 33 years old. You know, he coming off of a hip injury. He went over a year without getting a win in the NHL between injuries and just losing games. But in his career, he played 902 games. You know, he's got a .919 save percentage and 25 career shutouts. So I think that he could bounce back this year. He was drafted 26th overall in the 2004 NHL entry draft. So he's entering really his 15th year in the league, and that's not something that you see with a lot of NHL goalies. No. So if he can stay what he was when he first got into New Jersey, I think they're in good shape here.
I'm hoping so. I'd really like to see some solid Devils hockey. But to wrap up with your stomping grounds with the Pittsburgh Penguins, what do you think is going to happen this year with the Penguins?
Oh, boy. It's going to be certainly a different year for the Pittsburgh Penguins. They definitely will make the playoffs this year. I think Sidney Crosby is going to be centering that number 1 line, as he always does. I still think he's the best player in hockey. I don't think I've ever seen a player with a hockey IQ that Sidney Crosby has. And especially with Connor McDavid coming into this league, I think that they're starting to undermine Sid a little bit. And every time this man steps on the ice, you can get on the edge of your seat because you're almost bound to see a point. You know, he scored 100 points last year at 31 years old. He's going to be 31, 32 when this season starts. And I don't think that he's going to slow down at all. He's working with a lot of the young guys. He's still training with McKinnon. He's been able to train with Hughes. So I think Crosby's going to stay atop of his game. traded away Phil Kessel, got Alex Panyuk out of it. They also got a really young defenseman who was taken in the first round. The kid's 19 years old. I think they can develop him, and he can be a top 2 defenseman. If this kid ends up a top 2 defenseman, I think it's a win for the Pittsburgh Penguins. They also traded away Ole Mata, and they got Dominic Cahoon. So coming into this year, the Pittsburgh Penguins, their problem, again, is going to be their defense. I can't see it being their offense. I'm going to expect another decent year out of Matt Murray. He's slowed down over the last year or two, but I would look for him to bounce back this year. He's going to be a real solid goaltender. He's going to work on that glove hand, and I think we're going to see the Penguins make it to the playoffs, and I think they're going to come third in the division again this year.
Yeah, I think it does come down to goalie play with Matt Murray, and you did touch on Phil Kessel departing, which was a big piece for the Penguins.
Yeah, it's a shame to see him go, but with a player that makes $7.5 million and you're so tight up against the salary cap, these are just moves that have to be made, especially with all the rumors of Phil Kessel and head coach Mike Sullivan not getting along.
Yeah, it does come down to the money at the end of the day, as you touched on, and having to make those hard decisions, and that was one of them. But, again, thank you for coming on, Connor. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man, it's an honor to be on your podcast. I do listen to all of the shows. I have listened to all of the shows, so keep grinding, keep moving forward, and I have a feeling this ain't going to be the last time that we talk.
Yeah, we're definitely going to stay in touch, my man. But give your social media a shout-out so people can reach you, listen to you.
Yeah, you can reach me personally. My Twitter is @ShermanConnor, ShermanConor, and you can follow Fox Sports at Fox Sports CLT, and that's Fox Sports Radio Charlotte.
You can follow the podcast at @foul_podcast on Twitter. You can find us on Spreaker. You can find us on Spotify, everything. We're part of the Sports Opinions podcast umbrella. But thanks again, Connor, for coming on.
Yeah, man. Colton, thanks a lot, brother.